Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that the most valuable resource on Earth isn't oil anymore. It's electricity. Not gold, not crude. Just invisible electrons racing through copper wires because somewhere an AI is asking for one more answer. Sounds ridiculous until you realize that's already starting to happen. The strange part isn't that AI needs power, it's how much. The companies building the smartest AI systems on Earth are suddenly acting less like software companies and more like giant utility companies. And honestly, if that sentence would have made you laugh 5 years ago, you're not alone. Think of AI like a restaurant kitchen. When you ask a chatbot a question, it isn't pulling an answer out of a dusty filing cabinet. Thousands of specialized computer chips light up at once, passing tiny pieces of information back and forth like chefs rushing ingredients across a crowded kitchen during dinner service. Every one of those chips burns electricity and creates heat, lots of heat. Then you need even more electricity just to cool them down. It's basically paying for a giant oven, and then paying again to stop the oven from melting. Here's where things get weird. A normal Google search uses a tiny amount of electricity. An advanced AI response can use several times more, depending on the model and the task. Now multiply that by hundreds of millions of people asking questions every day. Suddenly, data centers aren't just buildings full of servers. They're becoming some of the biggest electricity customers on the planet. That's why companies you've probably thought of as tech companies are scrambling to secure power decades into the future. In 2024, Microsoft helped restart plans around the 3 Mile Island nuclear plant site, not because they suddenly fell in love with nuclear history, but because AI needs an absurd amount of reliable electricity. And yes, it's a little funny that software engineers now care about power plants almost as much as programmers. Then the competition gets even stranger. Countries aren't only racing to build better AI models anymore, they're racing to build better electrical grids. The newest AI chip is useless if it spends half the day waiting for enough power to run. It's like buying the fastest sports car ever made and realizing your driveway is still made of mud. Which brings us to the catch. Electricity isn't shipped around the world as easily as oil. You can't load extra grid capacity onto a tanker and send it across an ocean. Building transmission lines, substations, or nuclear reactors takes years, sometimes more than a decade. AI demand, meanwhile, grows every few months. That's a recipe for higher energy prices, local shortages, and governments making some very uncomfortable decisions about who gets power first. Honestly, that's the part people don't talk about enough. We spent years asking whether AI would replace jobs. Meanwhile, AI quietly started competing with factories, homes, and entire cities for electricity. That's a much bigger shift than it sounds. So when